Welcome to Navigating the Future, unlocking the power of immersive 3D map tiles with NGIS, Google Cloud, Google Maps Platform, and Skyline. I'm Afiyemi Idris, your host, and I'll be joined today by Oliver Looker, the head of smart cities at NGIS, with Jimmy Figueroa, business development and partnerships at Google Maps, and Malcolm Doyle, the VP of product strategy at Skyline. Today, I'll take you through our program. We'll see how you will be able to implement your own 3D digital capture and digital twinning workflows that can often cost tens or hundreds of thousands. The combination of Google, Skyline, and NGIS can turn the process of generating high-resolution, photorealistic 3D map tiles for your business into almost a simple turnkey solution, an immersive visualization to help you experience models in the real world. You'll also see real practical use cases of how 3D immersive experiences can benefit you and your customers. And finally, we'll answer some common questions that you might have. Now, I'll hand over to Oliver to take you through the challenge.
Thank you, Obi, and hi, everyone. A pleasure to be here. As Obi said, my name's Oliver Looker. I head up the mobility and smart city space for NGIS. So to set the scene for the webinar, I'll just travel back in time to the turn of the century. I mean, who remembers mapping back in the late 90s or the early noughties? I do. I studied mapping at university, and it was a much different world. Mapping was a special science. It was a discipline where, apart from maps or the old road directories, I mean, who remembers thumbing through those? There wasn't really any consumer map, particularly from a digital perspective. So some people say the pendulum swung, and I know it did for me, in the mid-noughties, so around 2005 or so, when Google Maps burst on the scene and started to gain traction as part of Google's search engine. So that's nearly 20 years ago now. Why was the change, so impactful? Well, because Google took a different approach. So rather than that science sort of led approach, trying to add as many mapping layers as possible, they really wanted to make mapping readily accessible for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. And Google posed questions like, how can we make mapping accessible to billions of eyeballs? And so to achieve this and to do this well, scale is obviously key, both in terms of performance. It's online and it just works. And also geographic coverage in trying to map the world. Ultimately, the mapping is done extremely well. It's cartographically excellent, and it's a great communication tool. It's relevant, it's accurate, it looks really good. And now we have an opportunity in front of us where Google has extended this mapping ability to 3D. So effectively, the data from Google Earth can be connected into your enterprise environment and open up a range of new and exciting opportunities through their photorealistic 3D tiles offering on Google Maps platform. So let's take a look at how using next generation 3D map tiles in your business. So taking a step back, let's firstly look at the challenge. We all know you want immersive, flexible mapping experience, particularly in the current economic climate. So if we can do that without the overheads. So what do we know about the use of geospatial services? We know that organizations are increasingly realizing the benefits of and relying on geospatial to digitally transform, not only for efficiency, so operational efficiency, but also for sustainability as well, and protecting the environment and social inclusion. But ultimately, there's a visual delight for end user customers and engaging experiences. So according to Oxford Economics, 73%, so nearly three quarters of leading global brands believe in geospatial services for increasing customer engagement. So we all want awesome experiences, but how do we do it? And how do we take it to the next level? Customers want a fully immersive experience to set their brand apart. A digital twin experience is becoming ever so increasingly familiar and common. And so all the features of the real world, they want that in a digital world without the hassle. Customers want to unlock asset inspection type use cases, augmented reality type experiences, and use their expensive Microsoft HoloLens headsets. Customers want to customize their maps and data. They want to show their brand. Customers want to go beyond a visualization, and they want an intelligent 3D reality. So not just to show a pretty map in 3D, but also to be able to carry out analysis and measure and be able to see things like line of sight and visual impact. And most of all, customers want return on investment. So there's lots of wants, but how do we create that next generation solution for 3D? So delivering these experiences is easier said than done. So there's many challenges that exist. So as we know, compatibility is a common challenge within an enterprise environment, but particularly when you start working with 3D data and geospatial data, there's different formats, there's different software. So how do we bring that all together? Flexibility. So sometimes there's a lack of control, and it's very hard to get the right resources to be able to show the graphics and the different building information models. Cybersecurity is another challenge, another ongoing concern, and that's growing. So how do we make sure we have a solution that is secure and your data is secure? And then increasingly, when we're trying to work with our 3D data and have our own data, there's a lot of cost involved. And customers can spend up to hundreds of thousands of dollars each year implementing their own 3D capture programs and digital twinning workflows, organising programs where helicopters and other aerial devices need to be able to capture that data, and then it needs to be processed and curated so it can be used within a business system. Scaling is difficult. A lot of computing resources is needed to process and create the 3D experiences, but also geographically as well. How do we expand into new markets when we expand as a business? Complexity. It's often seen as a difficult endeavor to be able to build a rich 3D experience. A lot of developers are needed. It requires significant expertise. So how do we overcome that challenge? So this is where NGIS has worked with our premier partners in Google Maps and Google Cloud and Skyline to be able to bring their top technologies together to create a unique solution that creates a 3D analytical platform for everyone. So let's delve into it. The first building block is the data element. And so I'll hand over to Jimmy from Google Maps, who will talk about the photorealistic 3D tiles that are available in the Google Maps platform. Over to you, Jimmy.
Thanks, Oliver. Here we have Google's immersive maps products, which begin with imagery. The Google Maps platform offers imagery products in both 2D to 3D for developers that want more customizability to ones that prefer more convenience of use. Our newest products allow customers to leverage Google's photorealistic 3D map of the world for immersive experiences on web, mobile, and even extended reality platforms. We're also engaged in strategic collaborations to reach new target verticals such as architecture and urban planning, all the way to fan experiences and news media. In 2023, photorealistic 3D tiles became available through the Map Tiles API on Google Maps platform. As a 3D geodata product, customers can use this as a raw ingredient in creating custom immersive 3D map experiences at scale. This unique 3D model is available in 2,500 cities around the world and is built at scale with Google's proprietary photogrammetric methods using our own imagery data. This map is served in the open source format 3D tiles, meaning customers who have previously struggled to justify the cost of creating their own 3D maps can now unlock new use cases with a few lines of code and this interoperable data format. While the 3D tiles are available at any zoom level, so the whole Earth down to the street, the ideal geographic scale where 3D tiles are most effective are at the city to block scale. At the city scale, you begin to notice the dimensionality of the map, and it pops with perspective angles. At the block scale, local scenes come to life with 3D objects and shadows between buildings. At these scales, there are four broad purposes that 3D tiles can fulfill for a customer. 3D can better contextualize a location or place of interest by providing more realistic views of the world instead of abstracted 2D views. These more realistic backdrops can help end users better locate or navigate their surroundings. And take that one step further, by improved understanding of context, end users can better evaluate how context has or could change over time. And finally, 3D can inspire and can help customers tell better stories around the world through maps. Back to you, Oliver.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's great to see the capability and the features that the 3D photorealistic tiles provide from Google. But how do we take advantage of this data? So this is at the data level. We need a renderer and a solution to be able to make that data available, whether it is on a mobile platform or desktop or an integration into another mapping application. So to make these photorealistic 3D tiles readily accessible within your enterprise environment, a flexible and a robust platform is needed. It also needs to be able to accommodate the many different types of geospatial data and scale to support the growth of data, and the compute power required to effectively carry out a broad range of use cases and integrations. So NGIS is pleased to announce the creation of our next generation 3D analytics service powered by Skyline, Terra Explorer, the world leading 3D mapping renderer and 3D tooling, and Google Cloud, delivering the secure and highly scalable geospatial computing power. Our service enables seamless access to the Google Maps photorealistic 3D tiles, so you can use them within your existing use cases, whether they're 2D mapping use cases, but also you can unlock 3D use cases. And you can see a range of use cases on the diagram there on the right-hand side. So things around volume, slope and terrain profile, cross sections, shadow queries, the list goes on and on. So let's look at the solution in a little bit more detail. On the left-hand side there, you can see that a range of different data formats are supported. And this is through the Skyline mapping engine. So over and above the photorealistic 3D tiles, also from Google, it supports layers from the Google Maps API that you may be familiar with in terms of traffic and routing, but also places. So Google, as you know, has got a massive library of places locations, and so they can be integrated within the service as well. There's also other imagery and elevation models that can be brought in and augmented with the photorealistic 3D tiles. Other typical feature layers, so typical geographic information system features, CAD and building information models or BIMs, and point cloud data. So the actual engine or renderer is built on Skyline, and that's using Skyline Terra Explorer and Globe Server, and that's delivered in conjunction with Google Cloud technologies. So to be able to ingest, transform, store the different data inputs, and then to be able to analyze and also predict 3D and 2D data, and to be able to do this at scale. Skyline Terra Explorer also has a range of clients. So the mapping can be delivered across desktop, so your typical desktop scenario, but also on web platforms. So you can feed this and deliver it to the masses via a simple URL link that can be accessed on Safari or Chrome. Mobile is supported too. Furthermore, Skyline using Globe Server is the cornerstone component for integration and orchestrating the integration of data throughout your business, connecting with other vendor solutions such as Cesium, Unity, and QGIS, just to name a few. I will now hand over to Malcolm, who will run through Skyline in more detail, but also demonstrate the use cases in action. Over to you, Malcolm.
So here we are looking at the whole globe being streamed as Google photorealistic 3D tiles in the Terra Explorer. But let's go to one of my most favorite cities in the world, Dublin, and have a look at what Skyline Terra Explorer and Google photorealistic 3D tiles can do. You can see we're now at the city level where we can see the whole of Dublin. Thanks to Google Cloud, we get the data we need very quickly. So we can start to answer some of the what if questions. Like, where can we build a new customs office for the cruise ships that are starting to come to our city? Within Terra Explorer, we can load in BIM models into our project to show all the interested parties in the Port of Dublin what these new offices will look like. But let's go back to O'Connell Bridge, as all these extra tourists will need some hotels to stay in. One developer would like to show their stakeholders their concept for a new hotel. They can do this by flattening a section of a block within the city center using the tools within Tower Explorer. They can also create a basic concept model of what this new hotel would look like across the city. They could also explore the option of adding another 3 stories on the proposed hotel for further discussion. Needless to say, as the project gains momentum, they can replace these basic concept models with fully detailed BIM models to further explain their vision. Jimmy, not sure if you've ever been to Dublin, but here's one of the Google offices there, and in the background you can see the Aviva Stadium where Ireland play all their soccer and rugby matches. But now let's hop across the Irish Sea to look at another great city, Oxford in England. Oxford is another one of the 2,500 cities that are available with Google photorealistic 3D tiles. Like all old cities, the city of Oxford has problems managing traffic, but with the Google traffic layer we can see in real time the traffic being overlaid within Tower Explorer. It is a great city with some of the best universities in the world, and it also has some famous and amazing buildings. Within Tower Explorer we can add labels to these buildings so they're easy to find. We can also make the mesh layer intelligent by classifying sections of it with existing 2D vector feature layers within Tower Explorer. Here we can see how we can bring the inside of the Museum of Natural History into Tower Explorer using Matterport to navigate inside the building and look at all the dinosaurs. Being able to integrate data from Google, Matterport, and many others means customers can quickly and easily build a true digital twin of their city. Some nice sharp teeth on this guy. So now let's leave Oxford and fly up the road to Heathrow Airport. With the wide-scale coverage of Google photorealistic 3D tiles and the geospatial visualization tools within Skyline, it means anyone can quickly build their own digital twin. They can get access to their digital twin even faster by hosting it on the Google Cloud. Here you can see an example of how an infrastructure owner like Heathrow Airport can see all their terminals, runways, taxiways, buildings right across the airport. They can then add their own existing 2D and 3D data to help them analyze and share their digital twin across the organization. They could even connect Tower Explorer to the OpenSky network using the OpenSky network API to visualize real-time planes taking off and landing at the airport. In this example, you can also click an individual plane to query the API for further information. So let's leave the UK and head back to Australia. We are in the city of Perth in Western Australia to help them visualize what their 1 in a 100-year flood would look like. We can load their vector layer of the flood map into Tower Explorer, and then we can add water to this vector layer to show how bad this flood would look across the city. All of this is possible while using the Google photorealistic 3D tiles as a base layer within Tower Explorer. This project could then be shared securely from a Skyline Globe server via Tower Explorer Fusion in a browser to allow all stakeholders to not only see, but to plan for an event like this even better. So we're looking at the offices of NGIS at Perth in Tower Explorer Fusion with the Google photorealistic 3D tiles. Tower Explorer Fusion is our new powerful web client, which is built upon our proven and trusted desktop engine. It is the same look and feel and functions as our desktop and supports all browsers and operating systems. But let's fly back to the UK to have a look at some power lines. We're on the outskirts of Reading, which is outside of London. And while we can see some pylons and power lines in the Google photorealistic 3D tiles, many utility companies across the world have invested heavily in high resolution LiDAR. Now with Skyline, you can see both these data sets together in a web browser. As you can see here, we can see the pylons, the power cables, the IKEA building on the right. But as we leave the 3D tiles, we still get streamed from Google the 2D or 2.5D terrain data set with the imagery and the DSM that we can then drape the power lines across. So with inside Terra Explorer Fusion, our web client, you can load in terrain, mesh, LiDAR, BIM models, vector, and raster layers all into one scene. So let's fly to Kalgoorlie back in Western Australia to look at one of the biggest mines in Australia. It's called the Super Pit. I recommend you Google it to find out more. It is an interesting read to read about this mine site. As we can see, Google only have 2D and terrain data available in this region, and unfortunately this is the case across most mining regions in Australia. Luckily here in Skyline and NGIS though, we have been working with many mining companies so that they can create a high resolution 3D meshes for use in their engineering workflows using Skyline Photo Mesh. Some of these models are sub-centimeter in resolution. As you can see, we can load these high resolution models into the Google photorealistic 3D tiles to give them context. Within Terra Explorer Fusion, they can then analyze their mine sites and visualize their assets with other data as well. Simple measurements and volumetrics can be done. You could also load BIM, LiDAR, and other data as we've shown earlier. Lastly, you could connect to other real-time data that's being streamed from multiple sensors on site for visualization in your digital twin. With the benefits of a SaaS licensing model for both the data and the software, and the data being streamed by Terra Explorer Fusion in a browser, you won't even have to install any software onto customers' desktops. Mine operators can compare multiple captures against each other. Here you can see we are comparing an April and a July capture to see what has changed between these two dates. These are only a few of the tools available inside Terra Explorer Fusion. Please don't be afraid to reach out to us to find out more. With the Google photorealistic 3D tiles being streamed into Skyline Terra Explorer from a Skyline Globe server hosted on the Google Cloud, users can quickly and cost effectively load all their company mine sites and assets into one real-time operational digital twin. One day I'd like to attend a Formula One race, and I really would like it to be Singapore. With Google photorealistic 3D tiles and Terra Explorer Fusion for mobile, I can see not just the whole city of Singapore, but I can also see the route of the Formula One race across the city. Using Terra Explorer Fusion for mobile, it will help me to choose a hotel so I can stay close to the action, and more importantly, choose where I may want to watch the race. Notice how the layers created in Skyline are on the road and they go underneath the bridges. But we all want to be here on the start-finish straight where the cars can reach over 300 kilometers per hour. With Terra Explorer Fusion for mobile, you'll be able to visualize your digital twin and a lot more. So now I'm back to where we started, looking at the country of Australia. And with that, I'll hand back over to Oliver.
Thanks, Malcolm. That was great to see the demonstration of the varied use cases, from B2B type use cases where we can look at different assets to the B2C type use cases such as tourism, being able to move geographically from Australia to Ireland and back again. So it really demonstrates the power of our 3D analytics service and using the technologies that we bring together. So such as Skyline from a rendering perspective, and tooling perspective, but also the power of Google Cloud to make sure it's performant and we've got that compute power at our disposal. And obviously the photorealistic 3D tiles, which is the fundamental building block from a data perspective. So being able to bring that all together and making it readily accessible is really the key feature in terms of the service that we're demonstrating today. And so just in terms of the key benefits, so with our service, we can keep all your users engaged. So in terms of your end users, we can create impactful experiences with the rich visualizations and powerful analysis tools. So it's really making 3D digital twin type experiences available to everyone. With the power of Google, we've got the ability to really build and scale out easily. And with the photorealistic 3D tiles, we eliminate the need for data storage. So there's no data storage. And so we've got an out-of-box solution that's readily accessible, easy to implement, and can help you scale. And like I say, the Google photorealistic 3D tiles require no capture program, so that can save you a lot of money in that regard. We can reduce the time to market and unlock other data that you may have. So we can bring innovative features to your customers quickly, monetizing existing data and enabling not only traditional B2B markets, but also new B2C markets, such as tourism. So thanks everyone for your time today. And then I'll hand back to Opie to cover any questions and close out the webinar.
Thanks, Oliver. So let me go through and see what questions we've gotten from the crowd so far. Just give me a second. Okay, we'll do this one. So for our experts here, how does this solution, what makes it different from other 3D rendering technologies?
I can jump in, unless Malcolm wants to take this one. I'll jump in. I'll take it. I know through working with Skyline for a number of years now, we've always consistently get the positive feedback in terms of its performance. And now there's an opportunity for users to no longer have to build their own 3D view of the world. So previously, typically, the capture programs would have to take place and customers would have to spend a lot of money to generate that 3D world within Skyline. And sure, they can still do that. But what Google's have done have effectively turned that paradigm on its head. So very quickly, through the Google photorealistic 3D tiles and the integrations that Skyline have invested in with Google, customers can start to share and analyze their world using Skyline and Google platforms within a few days.
Thank you. Let me get another question. Here's another one, and this one's probably for you, Jimmy. What resolution are Google's 3D map tiles, at least for the region supported?
Yeah, sure. So the photorealistic 3D tiles are generally generated through underlying imagery that's about 7 to 10 centimeters resolution. That's roughly 3 to 4 inches. It's consistent with resolution produced through aerial imagery collection programs and those sorts of sensors. So that's what goes into our photorealistic 3D tile generator and our processing. That's what you see that's readily available across the 2,500 cities globally.
Thank you. Another one to go back out to the group. We are recommending that the solution is hosted in Google Cloud. What about Google Cloud compared to any other host?
Okay, yeah, I can take that. So that's why we're recommending that the solution be hosted on Google Cloud. Yeah, good question. At NGIS, we've worked with all the major cloud providers, and they all give you a level of scalability. I think what it boils down to for Google Cloud and what differentiates Google Cloud is its geospatial capability. In terms of the tools and products, whether it's from a data warehouse perspective, analysis, ML, Google has taken a geospatial first approach. And so we've done a lot of tests against other providers, and Google Cloud wins hands down in relation to its geospatial capability. So if we can bring that together with 3D powered technologies like Skyline, and then it creates almost that perfect solution. So therefore, effectively using Google Cloud over some of the other cloud providers, it really gives the customer more value for money offering ultimately, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And the last question will probably be for you again, Oliver, because I guess NGIS is probably the best one to answer this question. So what support can we expect when implementing the integration between Google Maps and Skyline?
Yeah, like with all of our projects and solutions, NGIS provides full local support and flexible options based on the customer's internal capability and capacity. So, from a human resources perspective, the customer has geospatial and 3D capability. Then maybe it's a bit of a light touch in terms of some initial training and checking in. Alternatively, though, we can provide a full managed service, so be able to embed 3D use cases and geospatial use cases within the enterprise, providing ongoing support and training at regular intervals, and also building out new features as needed. So we're very flexible when it comes to support OP.
Thank you, Oliver. In the interest of time, I think we'll probably wrap it up here. So thank you all again for attending Navigating the Future, Unlocking the Power of Immersive 3D Map Tiles. Thank you, Oliver, Jimmy, and Malcolm for your time. For all those who have attended, I hope you've seen how you can help use Google's photorealistic map tiles, Skyline's rendering, and the geospatial expertise of NGIS to help you and your users more easily explore and understand an area, navigate new locations, evaluate places, and make better decisions. With 3D maps, you can save time and money, delight your users, and differentiate your brand. Stay in touch and keep up to date. If you have any questions, you can reach out to NGIS on how to implement the solution. And other than that, there'll be more webinars coming out soon, so stay in the loop. Thank you very much.